Baldwin Mortise lock disassembly and rehanding take 431. Okay, so Baldwin Mortise lock, several features. This is set up to be on a left-hand door. Pushing the thumb turner down on the outside, this controls that. If you push this button in, lets you open it. Push that button, locks it. When it is locked, the only way to open it is with the key. Deadbolt. And turn it and push the door in and let it go. Okay, that's, if you don't have the button thing, you just use your deadbolt only. You can always use the deadbolt. A lot of people don't like using that because when you go out the door from the inside with the knob, if the button's pushed in, you open the door and close it behind you and it's locked. So a lot of people don't like using that function, but it is there. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to switch the hand on this as well as put it all together. So normally you would take the cylinder out by unscrewing this screw right here, which releases this. You have to be real gentle with this screw. And unscrew your mortise cylinder, if this was on the door, and take off all the rest of everything and pull your body out. So that's your lock body. I'm actually going to leave the mortise cylinder screwed in a little bit just to angle it so you can see what I'm doing. But I don't recommend doing that while you're working on it. So first off, there might be a pin that holds this tongue in. It has a hole through and there's a straight metal pin that you have. It's got an angle on one end, so you have to tap that pin so that it's straight and push it out. One end is knurled and it won't go through, so you have to bend it straight and push it out, and that lets your latch come out. So there's usually 4 or 5 screws on one of these holding the cap on, the faceplate on. And once you do what we're doing, several things are going to happen. There's a couple of springs and a ball bearing that's going to pop apart, which is why we usually see mortise locks brought in bags with all the parts. The other thing is, this is covered with paper. This seal covers the screw. Once you unscrew that, poke through the paper, the warranty is voided automatically. So once you do that, now I have a jig that holds this all together, which I'll show you putting it back together, but if somebody was just taking this apart, several things are going to happen when you pull this plate off. Number one, your screw mechanism that holds the mortise cylinder in, this spring is going to pop apart. It's going to cause it to jump apart like that. And your ball bearing tensioner right here for your slide bolts is also going to spring out. So we're not going to worry about any of that right now. We're just going to switch the hand. So push in on this. Has several spring tensions on it. And remove the hub. Carefully pry this off. Well, that spring that just came out goes back together just like this. Presses up against the sidewall, the post goes through the spring and shaft there. There's another spring that you don't really have to remove, but if it does come out, it's just an extra spring for this mechanism. The leg goes on the sidewall facing the outside, and the flat part just pushes down on that. That spring doesn't have to come out. if you're just switching this latch. So we're going to take the latch spring off here. I'm trying to do this so you can see. We're going to flip the latch over. Now there's a couple of mechanisms underneath that. This is the mechanism, this is the mechanism. So this needs to go in this slot once we flip the latch. So flip the latch, making sure that goes on that side. We're going to put this spring back on. It's going to want to push up, so you kind of got to hold it for a minute. Get your other one. Put it on that post like so, making sure the spring goes over the shaft. Okay. Done with a flathead screwdriver. And we're gonna push this spring down, and it should snap right into place. Make sure that's flush. Okay, the latch isn't coming all the way out here, so something's going on. You gotta figure out what that is. Okay, the latch didn't go in right, so we're going to pop that back off. Make sure the little tongue is coming out like it's supposed to be right here. There we go. Make sure and slide that over. Spring back in. Push this up and over and snap it into position. My ball bearing and springs right there. I'm just letting it kind of hang out. Push a little bit. Snap that into position. Okay, we're going to come up here, put that back like it's supposed to be. Check to make sure this is back in spot. Now this is where it kind of gets difficult to get back together, which is why I recommend taking a scrap of wood and a couple of screws, like so. 2 screws. You need to be able to pass through the holes of that, but not go through that. That's just a regular little 8x1 screw. This is a door closer screw with the head maybe ground down a little bit. So to get this back together easier, we're going to put the block down. First put the screw in here. Screw here, and tighten it down. Your spring goes like so. You want to make sure the spring's pressing up against the metal, the plate brass right there. So now all we have to worry about is the ball bearing spring, which goes in the hole right there, where the ball bearing and the spring. Now, get your spring in the hole. Bring your ball bearing around. Using the screwdriver, push it in the hole. It's spring loaded, so obviously a little difficult to do. Kind of reminds me of the Ford 8-cut cylinders. And slide it halfway. And of course, being a ball and spring loaded is going to push that down, and it's going to try to slip off either side, but if it should hold. Now at that point, all we have to do, this can spring apart, so be careful, but all we have to do now is take this plate and line up that and that, that and that. And you do that by using these little slots. There we go. And put the screws back in. It's best to keep pressure there. And screw your mounting screws.